Hello, and here I am again to talk about another one of my favourite actors, and that's Sylvester Stallone. Absolutely adored him, but not from my childhood. From the age of 18, I was going through a breakup, and I found Rocky 3. And for some reason, that film inspired me, and I found myself wanting to see more and more of Sylvester Stallone. So I'm giving you my worst to best of only the ones that I've seen. So I'm going to begin with Oscar. Oscar for me is a waste of time. It was a misfire for me, more so than Stop or My Mom Will Shoot or Rhinestone. It had Stallone doing humour, and it felt like a fish out of water. It didn't feel right. There was just something wrong with this film. It's ugly. It's set in a horrible era. It's manic. Everyone's running around like it's some sort of stage play. I don't know. I get nothing from it. And I don't think anyone else did. So I'm putting that right at the bottom. Oscar's at the bottom. I won't rewatch it. I don't want to. So, what would I pick next? I'm going to pick the Expendable franchise. I don't like these. I've already explained this in my Arnold Schwarzenegger worst to best. So I'm going to pick all three of the Expendable movies and put them right after Oscar. They bring nothing to me, and I love all the stars in them. Absolutely nothing. It's got all the ingredients, but it makes a terrible meal. And they wanted to keep serving more of this meal to me, and I'm a fussy eater at the best of times. So after the first one, it was like, okay, I'll try and have some of the second one, and the third one. Oh God. Anyway, I've done that. Expendables, not a good film. Next for me, this is tricky. Rambo 3. Rambo 3, again, it's got all of the elements. It's got Stallone, it's got more of the action, more with Afghanistan, is it? I don't know, man, but this series has spiraled into this action, high-octane, machine gun dwelling war hero. I don't know, man, it's just become so unrealistic. Like, the first one is an absolute beautiful movie. The second one's alright. We're not going to go about that yet. We could talk about them later. This third one, I didn't really like it. So we'll leave that one there. Okay. Driven. Driven is drivel. If you want to see Stallone in a CGI infested mess of a Formula 1 or whatever sort of car it is, he's picking up coins with his tyres. He can choose which tyre he picks up the coin with. That's how good of a driver he is. It's that unrealistic that they have CGI cars. They could film this, but they choose to CGI it, and it's that era of CGI where it's just the throwing. It's just awful. It's awful. Rennie Harlin, who I genuinely think is a good director, drops the ball with this one. He's done A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, which, for someone who had no experience, phenomenal job he does with that. He also did Die Hard 2, not so good, but he's learning. He did Cliffhanger, pretty good. But with Driven, it's not good. Next, for me, is Judge Dredd. I've tried to like this. It's, I remember back in 1995, I had the choice of seeing Judge Dredd or seeing Batman Forever for the second time. And I said, I'm going to go see Batman Forever again. And I missed Judge Dredd at the cinema. And I didn't really miss much, because it's not very good. it feels cheap. It feels cheap, and they've spent all the money on Stallone. He looks great with blue eyes. That's the best thing I can say about this film. The visual effects are piss poor. The acting, they're trying their best. But there's something about this that feels poxy and small and contained, like it's all done in a studio. There's no depth. And for me, that's why it scores here. Next for me, for rewatchability at least, is Nighthawks. This one bores the hell out of me. Stallone looks great with a beard in it, and Billy D. Williams looks great too. But that's all I remember from it. It's a very forgettable film. And that's all I want to talk about that. Okay, so what do I hate more than the other? Because I want to get to the good ones. Like, I do love Stallone, but he's done quite a few poops along the way. I'm going to go with Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, even though I do like this film in my own weird way. It's very silly, and to keep rewatching it, like, there's rewatchability, it's like, I don't know if I feel this one. But if it was on TV and it was on, I'd probably sit there and watch the entire thing. It's not horrific, but it's also not very good. Now, people will say to me that this is wrong, and I'm crazy for saying this, but Demolition Man. I think Demolition Man is one of the most overrated films I've ever seen. Again, it's got all the elements. It's got Sandra Bullock. It's got Wesley Snipes. It has... Is Rob Schneider? Is he in it? He's not in it, is he? I don't know if he's in it. I've forgotten. It's got the guy out of Beetlejuice in it, the fat guy. And it's set in the future, and I don't care. I don't care. The storyline's poop. Okay. Avenging Angelo. I've seen this one twice. Do I remember it? Yeah, I remember it. It was alright. I didn't mind it. It was a bit more grown up. And I thought, this one's alright. It's not too bad. So I'm putting Avenging Angelo there. Then we have ICU, which was in the same year. It's called Detox in the UK. But I think in America or across the seas, it's called ICU. Nobody saw it. I think it over here in the UK, I think it was straight to DVD. And then another one of them is Get Carter. This is a remake of a film from the past, and Stallone thought he could have a go, and you know what? His acting in it is pretty good. Is the film any good? No, it's very slow paced, not much goes on. You get the title, but you don't get the guts of the original. Then I'm going to go with Ants. Ants, Stallone's not the main character in this, but he plays a big character, but it's CGI animation, like it's just vocal talent, so, but I've seen it. Okay, now I'm going to go with Tango and Cash. I go into depth about how silly this film is on my Arnold Schwarzenegger review. It has all the elements, but it's executed in such a poor way. Stallone's an unlikable character in this, and he's not fun or anything like that. He's square, and he's supposed to be, but it feels odd. It does feel odd. And the music's horrendous. And that's that one. And then we've got Rocky V. I adore the Rocky franchise, but Rocky V for me is up. I love the first 5-10 minutes where it feels like it's connected to part 4, and then it suddenly feels like it's jumped to 1990, and we are put into this depressing rap infested, because now suddenly Rocky has incorporated rap because it's moving with the times, and it shows. But it's not good rap. You know, it's not rap that you want to go and re-listen. It's not like listening to Vince DiCola from Rocky 4. If you're going to listen to any of the soundtracks, the least, it's going to be Rocky 5's. It's such a poor quality film that tries to be good. They wanted to try and make it realistic and give Rocky brain damage. And the result is he doesn't fight in a ring, and people want to see him fight in a ring. They wasn't ready to see him retire like we grew to in Rocky Balboa and Creed and all that. They wanted to see him fight again, and the box office showed from it. Like, there's not much pleasure from watching Rocky 5. Like, you've had the high of Rocky 4. Like, you're on this edge of this mountain. Literally, there's a mountain in Rocky 4. You conquer the mountain. What next? The only way is down. And that is what Rocky 5 suffers from. Down, down, down. It does nothing but bring you down. And that's why Rocky 5 scores this place. Okay. Daylight. Daylight's one of them films that TV networks would show all the time because it's cheap to show these sort of films. These disaster films where you will have the main star, which is Stallone, and you might get a couple of other recognisable people. The rest of them all are just thrown in because they are cheap. They are filmed in tiny sets, making out like they were in this huge tunnel, you know, with all these... it's just not very good. It's a very claustrophobic movie. And I will lead to my next one, which is Assassins. It's not bad. It's not bad. I like the dynamic between Stallone and Banderas. But there was also another film that came out just before it called The Specialist, which I quite enjoy, and I'm going to place this next. The Specialist was a delight to watch. I've seen it about 10, 12 times, something like that. I've seen it enough. The chemistry between him and Sharon Stone is bizarre, but it works. And being a young boy, I remember looking at this and thinking, this film's awesome. It's got James Woods as the villain. Like, what more could you possibly want from a movie? You've got Sharon Stone, James Wood, and Sylvester Stallone. All three of them together, combined. That's why I enjoy it. Oh, and you've got Eric Roberts is in this as well. Eric Roberts is a legend, and he doesn't get spoken of enough. So yeah, that's why The Specialist is up there. Let's go with Rambo 2. I don't mind Rambo 2. I think it's a fun popcorn flick, but it's not a patch compared to the first one. Like, I don't get excited for it when I'm watching it, and I should, I guess. I'm a man. I'm meant to like Vietnamese soldiers getting blown up, but I don't enjoy it. You know, the war's long over, and I don't really know what's going on in this film, if I'm honest. They're picking up the prisoners of war. People are turning against Rambo. The American army I don't know what it is. It's just silly. Like, the first one is hands down a superior film. These are just cash grabs. It's not a bad film, but it's just silly. Okay. Escape Plan. I do like it. It's good. It brings Arnold Schwarzenegger to the mix, and they are like dynamite when they're on screen together in this. Really good. Even though it's two men trying to escape a prison, like, you believe their ages and the way they behave. It's a fun ride. Like, they both do a great performance in this film. I've not seen the two sequels, and I don't intend to. So nobody even bring up the Escape Plan sequels. Okay. Rhinestone. Rhinestone is a good movie. It's a silly movie, but it's good. You've got Sylvester Stallone, and you have Dolly Parton, and she's trying to get him to become a singer, because she has a bet with her manager or something like that she can make him a singer. This New York taxi driver. And it's just a fun film, man. Like, this is the sort of film you'd want to stick on with the family and go, let's watch this. Let's just sit here and watch this. Like, it's a very pretty but silly film. And I get enjoyment out of every time. This film gets slated a hell of a lot. Even Stallone hates the fact he did Rhinestone. I don't. He's singing and having fun and showing that life shouldn't be taken seriously. So for that, it's up here. Okay. Lock Up. Lock Up is a prison drama, action drama. It was coming from an era where this was a popular situation for people to be in. We had Van Damme in something similar called Death Warrant. But this one has Stallone, and he's a good guy, but he's in prison, and he sees that people are being hurt, and he sticks up for them, because he's the good guy. And this particular warden's trying to destroy him, and it's good. It's good. I recommend it. Like, there's no surprises, but it's not a bad movie of Stallone's. Okay, next. Rambo Last Blood. I'm going to go with Rambo Last Blood. I didn't mind it. I kind of liked the beginning half. The second half, not so much. But the beginning half, the build-up of the relationship between him and the girl, I thought that was great. Second half, I couldn't care for it, if I'm honest. Like, the more violent he got, the more I don't care. So that's that. Now this is tricky. I'm going to go with Over the Top. Over the Top is a great family film. Again, underrated. He is an arm wrestling truck driver, and he enters a competition with his son that he's just learning to have a bond with because his mother's just died, and he's now to be in his custody, and he's trying to teach him how to be a real man because his son is all prim and proper and wears a uniform and goes to private school, and his dad, Lincoln Hawk, is a truck driver, and it's trying to show you somewhere the meeting in the middle of the father and the son, and them taking elements from each other, like how to be a man, how to be respectful, how to not make rash decisions, and the bond that you see between the father and the son is incredible. And I would recommend this film to anybody who wants to see what family can be like when it's broken, because building relationships with children from broken homes, it can be difficult, and this film tries to tackle that. So I applaud them for making this a family film. He could have just made it a high-octane arm wrestling movie, but no, they decided to bring in the child element, and it works. So well done to them for that. Next, I'm going to go with Rocky Balboa. I do love Rocky Balboa, however, it doesn't bring much to the mix, and the reason for this is Mason the Lion Dixon. We've gone from having enemies of Rocky's to this guy who is a proper boxer, as in he gives Rocky a chance, who's not elderly, but he's older, and it's like when you have a fight with a young man fighting an old man, you don't know if the young man is giving his all. And I think this is the problem. There's no enemy in this film. You feel for both of them, and because of that, it's hard to cheer on Rocky. Like an old man taking advantage of a champion young man. I mean, ultimately he doesn't win, Rocky, and he's happy with that. And I think, yeah, it's cute and everything, but they could have done so much. They could have brought Adrian back just for a swan song. She could have died in it. They could have done something with it, but no, she's already dead. For whatever reason that was, I think it was probably because of her age, and they wanted to look believable, and still look young. That's my guess. So he thought, you know what, I'm going to kill her off because she looks too old in real life. That's my guess. Why else would you not bring her back? She's gold when she's on screen. She's the reason why Rocky and Adrian worked. And in this one, he's killed her off. In my opinion, worst decision. Okay. What next? I'm going to go with Cliffhanger. this is Rennie Harlin when he can direct well. This changed the way we saw Stallone. Like, we always knew he was strong, but like this now, we see him, he is a mountain rescue, and he's barely wearing any clothes, and it's insane. Like, he is at his peak here, for physicality. Like, he looks just insane in this film. And it's a great movie, and John Lithgow is an amazing villain. And the plot's silly, but I like it and I can rewatch it. It's a great film to watch at Christmas because it's got that snowy feel. And it's a great film just to have on in the background if you're doing something but you want some sort of entertainment. So yeah, Cliffhanger's great. Next for me is Rocky IV. I'm going to go with Rocky IV. Even though I love this film, I don't love it as much as the others. The reason for it is it feels so disjointed and disconnected from the other Rocky movies. It does its own thing. It's got its own composer. It's set in Russia. It's so disjointed from the rest of the franchise. It's also very fastly paced in the editing, the dialogue. There's barely any dialogue in Rocky IV. And for every punch that Ivan Drago can throw, we lose dialogue. And we lose some vital dialogue. He did the director's cut, which wasn't bad. There was lots of scenes that were missing. He removed the robot. I didn't mind that. You know, the robot wasn't real. The film franchise, if you watch Rocky 1 and then you watch Rocky 4, like, something's gone wrong here. They've got these fictional robots in Rocky 4, making out you can program the voices. We can't even do that these days, and we've got AI. Like, it's silly, Rocky 4, but it's still good. And it does have one of the best fights and some of the best music, but it is silly, and for that reason I'm putting it here. I'm not going to mention the Creed movies, because really they should be before Rocky 4. So I'm just going to put them just before Rocky 4, and then we'll move on from there, because I do like him in them, but they're not his films. There you go. Right, what we got next? Next for me is one that should have done better. It is renowned as a good film, and that's Copland. Stallone took a massive pay cut to do this role, to prove to the world that he could act. But by this point, not even this role could save him. But the movie is fantastic. It's about dirty cops, and Stallone is under the pressure of doing the right thing. And it's a great film. It really is. Great cast, great acting, great dialogue. Stallone plays this overweight, semi-deaf sheriff who will not play ball with the other cops because he has to do the right moral thing. It's a great film. It should really be like up in the top 3, but it's not, because I don't rewatch it all the time. But it is great, so I recommend you to watch this if you've never seen it. Rocky III. Rocky III for me was what started it all. I mentioned this at the beginning. So Rocky III was an absolute delight. There's so many fights in this film. There isn't much dialogue again. Like, something changed from Rocky II to Rocky III. It's like, you know what? We don't want people sat in the cinemas for 2 hours. We want them to sit in there for an hour and a half, give them 3 fights, lots of music, less dialogue. And that's what they do with these films. So I'm going to go with Rocky III there. Now I'm going to go with First Blood, the first Rambo film, whatever you want to call it, that one. It's not a bad movie at all. You get to see some fantastic acting from Sylvester Stallone, especially at the end. Like, it is phenomenal. Like, if he would have got into like proper acting instead of action, he could have been an Al Pacino or a Robert De Niro, I believe. Because if you see the way he acts at the end, the emotion in his face, it's real. It is real. I tell everybody, go and watch the end of the first Rambo film and just try not to feel what he is trying to convey. And if you can tell me that he's a bad actor, I would love for you to show me somebody who was better, that could do this particular role better than what he gives. He gives 110%. I never liked this film when I was a kid. I thought it was boring. It is head and shoulders above better than the rest of the Rambo movies. It just is. I've missed out Rambo 4, Rambo, John Rambo, whatever you want to call it, the one with the CGI blood. It's good. It comes just before this. This is great. So I'm putting it there. Okay. Now, there might be some films that I've missed out of Stallone's that I have seen. You know what? But I haven't missed this one out. Cobra. This has rewatchability. Do you know why? Because it's the epitome of the 80s. It makes you feel like you are in some sort of music video and you don't want to leave it. It's just over the top. Stallone's character is ridiculous. He's this mean machine with a massive heart. Like, he's soft for every hardness, bit of hardness he has about him, his car and all that. There's a softness to Stallone's character in this, and it shows. And yeah, the music in it's great. The villain's amazing. Brian Thompson, he has starred with all of the big ones as a villain or something. He's been in Van Damme movies, he's been in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. The guy is just so versatile, and he's brilliant as the villain in this. Okay, right. I'm gonna go with the first Rocky is amazing, but I'm gonna go with Rocky. Rocky is great. It's a masterpiece. It really is. But it doesn't quite capture what I want to make it a 10 out of 10. Rocky 2 does. So I'm moving on to Rocky 2 now. Rocky 2 is my favourite Stallone movie. Here's the reasons why. You get thrown straight in after Rocky 1. He's waking up in the hospital, or he's getting taken to the hospital. He's all battered and bruised. And we get a glimpse of him spending the money and getting his wife pregnant because he marries Adrian and she's pregnant, and then he doesn't want to fight anymore and he can't keep a job. And you see the struggle of Stallone's character. He's just trying to keep a job. He just wants to provide for his family. And he's trying his best. He's wearing a suit. He's wandering around places trying to get the job just to provide for his wife, who loves him. She doesn't want him to fight anymore. And Apollo is calling him a coward, and she goes into a coma because she's working too hard at work. And he sits by her bedside because he feels the guilt that he's not done the right thing as a father and as a husband and just as an overall man. And Mickey looks at Stallone, at Rocky, and basically sees him as a child and says, I will stay with you. I've got nothing more that I need to do than I will stay with you. And he sacrifices his own time to sit and pray with Rocky for Adrian to come back out of a coma. And when she does, she tells him to go and win the fight. And that is all he needs to make him feel hungry to go in and have a rematch with Apollo Creed. And we all know how it ends with one of the most phenomenal boxing matches that you'll ever see on screen. You feel every second of the 10-second count ticking down. The bruises on the face, the shut eyes, the absolute exhaustion that you feel from these two men is insane. You feel like you've taken the punches with him. Both of their faces are battered. And this film is just an absolute delight to watch. So Rocky 2 is my favourite. If I've missed any others out, I don't really care, if I'm honest.